All right, if your guitar videos aren't getting views or you're struggling to land brand deals, it's probably not your playing. It's actually how your content looks and how it sounds. So that's why in this video, I'm gonna show you how I film my guitar videos for YouTube and Instagram using a really small room and pretty basic gear. But before we get into that, I wanna mention this really quick. Today's video is not sponsored, but I did just launch something that I've been working pretty hard on for a while now. I created a full course over on a brand new platform called Sphere, where I go way deeper into this entire process. And it's also where I'm building a space for musicians like us with guitar tabs, tone presets, multi-tracks of all of my original songs, and a community to talk about recording, get feedback and criticism. So if you want to check that out, please do so. It's down in the description below. But for now, let's go ahead and get back into, making content. So most guitar creators are focused on the wrong things. They chase after better gear, better plugins, better tones, and trust me, all of that is great, but it doesn't get you to where you need to go. They completely ignore presentation. That means bad lighting, messy framing, weak audio. People scroll past that kind of stuff instantly. I'm guilty of that myself. So instead of overcomplicating this, I just want to show you the few things that actually make the biggest difference. And first up is lighting. Lighting is really the biggest upgrade you can make immediately. Everybody thinks that they need to upgrade their camera setup and they don't. I use two lights at 45-degree angles above and slightly below my eye level. That gives me a really clean, even lighting across my face. And then I add some lighting behind me to create separation from me and the wall so I don't look like I'm just melting into it. So to demonstrate how much lighting can affect everything, I'm gonna leave my camera alone here and I'm gonna turn on and off my lights, and I'm gonna turn on the overhead lights too. So right now you're seeing my normal lighting setup where I have one light here, and I've got some background stuff going on either side of me as well. So let me go ahead and turn off those lights. So pretty hard to see anything, right? If I turn on just one light, still pretty hard to see me. If I turn on just the other light, still, it's kind of looks moody, kind of looks cool. Doesn't really do the trick, but if we go ahead and turn on both of those, now things look a little bit more proper. Lighting is very subjective and it's up to your creative interpretation, but lights help so much, and they help your camera to do its job, whether it's a smartphone or a mirrorless camera like my Sony here. But let's go ahead and turn both of those off, and then I'll turn on my overhead light so you can see how bad that looks. So although this isn't the worst that it could look, you'll notice that my skin looks really weird thanks to the white balance that I'm using. You'll notice that I've got a weird shadow over my face because the lights are overhead and I'm wearing a hat. And even if I wasn't wearing a hat, my big forehead would make some weird shadows too. And although things in my background are more visible, it kind of makes me blend more into those background. Like I'm looking at my monitor right now and I can see that I look a lot more flat and 2D than I did when I had the lighting actually focused on me, with my background lighting actually focused on everything else. So lighting matters, y'all. Lighting matters a ton. All of this alone makes your videos look way more professional. You don't need expensive gear. You just need to be intentional with it. I break this down way more inside of the course that I told you about earlier. But if you fix your lighting alone, you'll see a huge difference in your content. Next up is audio. We're musicians. Audio is near and dear to our hearts, right? But so many people skip over making their audio sound good. And this is where you'll lose most of your viewers. You can have great visuals, but if your guitar tone sounds like crap, people are gone. And by that I mean maybe it's too quiet, it's too fizzy, maybe it's overly compressed, or it's clipping the signal. So I focus on getting a clean, controlled signal that is clear, tight, and balanced from the very start, not overly noisy, not muddy, and not harsh. Now, some people would argue my tone can be kind of harsh, but I like a bright guitar tone, okay? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about how it comes across on your video. So what I do is just make sure that my signal is clean and it's not clipping, but I also make sure that it's loud enough. Again, in my new course, I go over how to do this in depth, both inside of Final Cut Pro and inside of Logic Pro, because your levels matter. If your audio is clipping or it's way too quiet, it instantly feels unprofessional. It instantly feels like you don't care and you didn't have that attention to detail. But even just focusing on clean audio will take you way further than you think. Now on to editing. This is where everything starts to get cleaned up, because let's be honest, it took me probably 10 takes to get just that last paragraph done inside of this video. My process though, really simple. I cut the best take, I tighten everything up, and I make sure my audio and color are consistent. So one of the main things that I do is I actually go ahead and just make simple cuts within Final Cut Pro and then select them to make sure that I'm crossfading so that my audio is always making sure to come through crisp and clear, no pops and clicks, no weird stuff like that. And making sure your audio isn't clipping is super important because you don't want to be blowing out people's eardrums when they have headphones on. You also don't want the platforms to compress your audio further because they sense that it's clipping and too loud. And again, we're all guitarists here, right? So this is something near and dear to our hearts. We don't want our guitar tone sounding worse than we already feel like it does, right? We want to make sure it sounds crisp. That stuff is very important, and it shows, again, that consistency, that intentional attention to detail. That's huge, and it can't be understated enough. Brands love it because it lets them know that you're going to make their product look good. So I just trim everything down, sort everything out, make my cuts anywhere that I see fit, which I do get more into in my course as well, because I go into how to do multicam editing, jump cuts, and things of that sort. That's a really in-depth topic, so I don't want to go into all that right here, as well as how to sync audio that you recorded in your DAW to your video, because that's also a process in and of itself. Relatively easy though. And then I go into color grading too, because color grading again is a whole other video. Could probably do a whole topic on it, and I'm not a specialist at it, but I do have my process for it. So what I do inside of Final Cut Pro is I just trim everything down. I make sure the cuts are smooth. I crossfade everything. Nothing crazy here. I don't do any crazy edits. I'm not doing anything cinematic here. But all of these small details are what will make your content feel way more professional than it already does. Now, thumbnails. I hate to say it, but this is what actually gets people to click. Nobody even cares about your video until they decide to click on it because of your title and thumbnail. And again, my process, very, very simple. I take a really clean screen grab from the video itself and I bring it into Canva. I might remove the background, I might add some text onto it, but I keep it very, very simple because too much can get too distracting and hard to see on a phone or a tablet. And since I use Canva so much, it's very, very simple for me to keep using the same template that I built once a while back. And I even use the same text because it helps people to know that it's one of my videos, right? And that's something that I want those return viewers. And so I use Canva to remove the background from most of my photos as well. So if we take the screen grab of myself from one of my more recent videos, I do use Canva to go ahead and remove the background. And it's actually way easier than it is in other apps because I just simply click background remover and it's pretty much done it really well. And it even caught that this is a headless guitar and it got everything else around that. And then you just click save and you can drag this into any of your thumbnails that you want to make. Pretty easy, right? Canva is a lifesaver. I just want to make sure it's clear and easy to understand instantly. That way people know what they're clicking on. No clickbait here, I promise. But if your thumbnail is confusing, people just won't click, they'll move on. So simple really does tend to work here for me and many other creators. All right, so let's now talk about consistency. You've heard this word a million times, this is nothing new. This might be the most important part though, is consistency. None of what we have talked about matters at all if you're not actually posting. You need to post the videos. You don't need perfect videos. You just need to put in the reps, okay? Put in the reps just like you're at the gym. I know I could use some more time in the gym here, but every video you make does make you get better. It's just like practicing your instrument. Your lighting improves, your playing gets tighter, your workflow gets faster. And I really mean that. Your playing does get tighter. If it takes you a million takes to nail the recording on film, you're actually practicing guitar. You're getting better at guitar just like when you're recording into your DAW. That's just how this works. So if you take anything from this video, make it this. Focus on presentation, because that's what separates content that gets ignored from content that actually gets watched. And again, if you want the full step-by-step breakdown of everything I talked about, more in-depth about lighting, camera, audio, editing, I put all of that into the full course over on Sphere. That is linked down in the description below. Other than that, stop overthinking it. Set up your space, hit record, start posting those videos, okay? That's the most important part. Pay attention, be intentional, be consistent. This is how you get better, but it all starts with posting. So make sure you get that out of the way first, okay? All right, so that is it for now. Let me know what kind of courses you'd be interested in me making for a future case, and I'll get to them ASAP. I'm really stoked to be doing this, and I hope that it helps at least some of you. But until next time, peace and love, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Bye now.